Hello everyone, my name's Dr. Ellie Atkins and I'm a clinical psychologist at St George's Hospital in London. I've written a series of webinars for NHS staff and this one is about coping. So why am I even talking about coping? That seems like a thing that we're all doing at the moment. But I really wanted to write this webinar in particular. This is a subject that's really close to my heart because I think it's really easy for us to focus on problems when we're in a situation like this. Look at all the words that we have for this. The crisis, it's unprecedented, it's really difficult, and it's really easy to focus on the things that are more challenging. But actually the evidence from all the studies when they look at disasters, terrorist incidents, weather incidents that have happened in the past, the evidence tells us most people will find it hard, but they'll manage and they'll get through it. And I also think that all of us at some point in our lives have coped with tough situations. And we really need to remember that we can cope instead of thinking that either we're not coping or anticipating that we won't cope. So let's think about what I mean by coping and also what I don't mean. Coping in this situation that we find ourselves as staff working in hospitals with very sick people is getting through every day, doing the work that you are there to do and going home again and managing that. It means riding the waves of the emotion. I don't know about you, but I'm finding that some days feel like better days and other days feel worse days. And even within that, some hours feel like worse hours and some feel better. I had a Zoom conversation with some friends of mine who are all psychologists last night, and we really, different ones of us at different times in the conversation were up and down about someone would say something that would trigger one of us. And coping is just riding those waves. In this current climate, it's also about tolerating uncertainty. You're probably finding that there are new directives every day, that you're being moved around to different places every day, and you might be doing different jobs. And so coping is just managing to do them. And it's finding ways to deal with the challenges that present themselves. Things are not always going to be straightforward. They might be very different to the way that you would normally care for people. And finding ways to deal with that, that's coping. But really importantly, I'm not talking about that I'm fine, this isn't affecting me, stiff upper lip thing that we're quite good at quite often. We're not very good, as British people particularly, about talking about feelings. We pretend things aren't affecting us when maybe they are. We even pretend to ourselves sometimes. It doesn't mean loving every minute of it. I'm not saying you have to think this is a great situation to be in, but it's also not pretending everything's fine. And coping is not putting on a brave face and only breaking down in private. So then what can you do that might help yourself? I think the first thing I'd really encourage you to do is think about times in the past when you've managed a difficult situation. Think about, how did I get through that time that felt really difficult, or some of the same feelings I had then I'm having now, what did I do about that? It won't be exactly the same, but think about when you've coped. You're just bolstering your resilience to this. And identify in this situation that we're currently in 2020, when you've managed something difficult. Maybe you're working with a different patient group, you're working with a different lot of skills. I know a lot of our nurses in my hospital are having to do different tests and competencies in order to get competent to go on the wards that maybe they haven't done for a long time. Maybe you're dealing with tricky families or very distressing situations. Donning and doffing is a whole new area of us for all of us. Queuing for food in the supermarket is the thing that makes me the most wobbly at the moment. But I've managed it. So find things that you've managed. Remember, it's okay to feel lots of different things and all feelings are valid. There's not one way that you're supposed to feel in this situation. Don't beat yourself up if you're finding it harder, if you're crying sometimes. That doesn't mean you're not coping. It means you're getting through this. And look at how others are managing the challenges and talk about it. If you see somebody who managed something well, find out what they did, because you may find that actually they found it quite difficult. They just didn't show it at the time. Find out what's going on. Social media, I think, at the moment is really coming into the fore because there's lots of ideas about things that people are finding challenges and sometimes funny ways around it or sometimes just supportive advice. But don't be fooled by people who are putting up, like social media always has, some kind of perfect life or look how great our homeschool is or any of those things. You've no idea what's really going on for them. So don't be fooled that people seem to be coping fine and you're not. And find a strategy that helps you cope, okay? Whatever it is. It might be going for a run, it might be doing a yoga class. For me, it's doing football in my hallway before I go to bed. Find the thing that works for you. And then I want you to think about others as well, because like I said right at the beginning, the reason I'm doing this webinar is because coping is underrated. We don't talk about it enough, and we think that people are victims or they're weak or that they're not going to manage, when actually we know that people do. So when you see colleagues coping well, let them know that you noticed that they did. Keep talking to your manager, your peers, your juniors about the ways to tackle tough stuff. We're a team in this. We're going to get through this because we're working together. And it's one of the most wonderful things that I've seen is that the NHS is pulling together like never before. So find ways around it together. Don't shy away from talking about the things that impact you. If you name them how they are for you, you're modelling for other people that it's okay for it to be difficult. Feel okay with laughing sometimes and crying sometimes, and let other people do that too. Make sure you're using the support that is available to you. Nobody is alone in this. There's lots of staff support out there. Look on your trust intranets, find out your staff support service. Make sure you're using the resources that you have. And model behaviour, that coping's not a goal. It's not like you're suddenly going to get to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm coping with all of this. It's a journey, and we're on that journey together. These are some just general resources that you can find. There is a wealth of resources out there, but these are some really good ones. Look at them if you think you need more support. And like I said, check out what your trust is offering if you want some help. But trust in your ability to cope, because people are coping. And well done for everything you've done so far. Thank you.